Hey guys, it's here bringing you another video. Welcome to patch breakdown for 13.5. I still cannot believe we're already at 13.5, by the way. It's absolutely kind of nuts. But today we're going to go over the changes, give our opinions on them. And yeah, the nerfs are Aurelion Sol, unsurprisingly, Caitlyn, Gangplank, still, yeah. Ramos, Twitch, mainly support, as you can see by the emblem. Xayah and Yorick. We're getting buffs to Aatrox, Fizz, Jinx, Kennen, LeBlanc, Kiana, Rumble, Samira, and Trindy Nips. And then we're getting adjustments to Ashe, which I think is adjustments more to support Ashe, Azir, Pantheon, Yuumi, and Zed. System changes to Cosmic Drive, Grasp, Jungle in general, Plated Steel Cap, Seraph's Embrace, and Triumph. And then we're getting a new Broken Covenant skin line. And that will be coming out on March the 9th. I've not done a loot video in a while, so maybe we'll do a loot video. We'll see. So, Yuumi, this champion, yeah, I don't know if I'm going to go massively into detail here. I'll tell you kind of the gist of what's going on because I did look into it. I don't think it's going to do anything to Yuumi. Like, fundamentally, like, what Riot is trying to do is they're trying to get rid of the gameplay, which is both in pro play and solo queue, that someone in solo queue knows that they're having a Yuumi. What do they pick? They pick Ezreal because they know at level 3 or level 4, the Yuumi is abandoning bot lane to go hang out with their Kayn jungle, for example. Riot are trying to get rid of that whole thing by basically making a best friend mechanic that only the best friend gets the main benefits. And you become the best friend from being attached to somebody for an extended period of time, and that, lo and behold, becomes the best friend. So unless you play Yuumi support and you start on the jungler from the beginning of the game, which I can probably guarantee people might try, then yeah, usually the AD carry will be the best friend, so that's who you're supposed to try and stay with. So what we can do here is read this, because basically they are they're going to explain in this paragraph what they're doing. So Yuumi's rework is arriving in 13.5 with a few new spells, some cuddly VFX, and aims to address some core frustrations that have plagued our feline friend. It doesn't, by the way, address the core frustration, though, and the core frustration is the attach mechanic. It's the attach mechanic that then she is immune. That is the one, and that is the one that they don't care about, that the whole community has frustrations about, which in itself is quite frustrating. The biggest change is to her passive feline friendship, which now builds a special bond with her teammates until one becomes her best friend. The new bestie will then enhance Yuumi's abilities as long as she's attached to them. Our goal is to make laning much more for Yuumi, especially if she is going to scale just as well as other enchanters while being untargetable, which in itself is also stupid. We've kept it as dynamically growing bond because, well, that's what cats do. But also it's a case of something ferociously going wrong. You should feel free to swap and not be hindered the entire game. But again, that is one of the benefits that Yuumi has. Oh, my AD carry's not doing very well. Okay, I'll just permanently jump on a Kayn or a Hecarim and we are now gods. It doesn't feel great. So beyond the passive, we've made a few more swaps to Yuumi's abilities, such as making her heal more combat-based and her enchantments more marksman-skewed. These should abate some of the high frustration moments when Yuumi can abandon her lane partner and follow potential powerful bruisers. Yeah. While we're not positive that this completely solves every problem for Yuumi, it doesn't. We hope this puts her in a better place for most players while making her less dominant in pro environments. She is still, and I'm going to say right now, she is still going to be a problem. 100%. Just the core base mechanic of having a champion attach, give benefits, and not be able to be knocked off forcefully is a huge problem. If they wanted, and I've said this right before when they announced they were doing a mini rework, if they want to keep their attach mechanic, there needs to be a way to counter it, not just killing the champion that she's attached to, because sometimes that's not possible or not easily possible. To me, the best idea was when you double CC a Yuumi, she pops off. And maybe she has a much quicker cooldown to reattach if she gets popped off, but that would have been a much more healthy way of dealing with it, because normally if you've got two forms of CC in bot lane, you might double it up on the AD carry or support, sure, but you might also spread that CC. If you're doubling up, or if you're against a YUUMI lane, let's be honest, 95% of the time, you only can use it on the AD carry because that's the only one that's available. YUUMI's permanently attached. So doubling your CC on that target, like, and what I mean by doubling it, you hit Ashe arrow, and at the exact same time, you're with a Taric or something, he hits his stun, you double CC the target together. You're not, you don't stun and within another 3 seconds, you stun again and she pops off. You double CC. So it's actually not very effective to double CC, but that's what pops YUUMI off. To me, that was kind of the best idea, but they're not obviously doing it. So it is worth knowing. So while attached, YUUMI builds friendship with whenever her ally enemy kills champions or minions. Each ally has their own unique friendship score. And then while attached to her best friend, YUUMI gains abilities. So what I will also say, what is really weird to me, is one of the frustrations as well people have had with YUUMI is the permanently attached YUUMI players. Genuinely, the bad YUUMI players. That's what everybody has always said. Even YUUMI players who are actually good, if you want to call some good players YUUMI. But the better YUUMI players, maybe that's the word we should use, do not stay permanently attached because there's benefits to not attaching, using their passive, auto attack, etc., and then they'll pop back out, or popping out, taking some of the aggro, then popping back in. If they are only giving the YUUMI empowered, abilities while she's attached, it's only going to make the perma attach YUUMI thing worse, because if she pops off her best friend, she no longer gets them better versions of her abilities. So what's the benefit? So it's a little bit weird to me that they're kind of helping that. But yeah, it is worth knowing that I think the adaptive force has gone, so she's no longer a stat stick that is giving actual stats to things, unless they've moved it somewhere else, but I don't think they have. So yeah, so she's still going to be a problem. She's still going to be a mess. The champion, and I'm going to say it, and I know I'm not trying to put words into Riot's mouth, I bet they regret making that champion. Because Riot, fundamentally, they don't delete champions. The next champion, people say, oh, they deleted old Aatrox. They do they've done huge reworks too. For some reason, they don't really want to do it to YUUMI because the main problem with her is her W. And they've done a big rework. The one thing that stayed is the W. And by the way, for those that are like, why would the W stay? It's because Riot know YUUMI only players are completely screwed if they get rid of that W. That is why they haven't done it. Anyway, let's move on from the cat. Aatrox, W cooldown decreased late, slow now increases with rank, that's nice, and R bonus AD granted increase later. So some buffs to Aatrox. It is worth knowing that Aatrox did have a very dominant, near year and a half, I'd say, maybe 2 years. He was very, very strong with it, especially when the healing was out of this world insane. He has been toned down because he did get nerfed himself and we had healing nerfs. So he is getting a little bit of buffs. But the nice thing is nothing directly to his healing, because that was always the big problem. So yeah, just nice little changes there for W and ulti. So Ashe, again, a bit of a frustrating pick for some people when it comes to support Ashe, because fundamentally, and it depends where your, view on it is, support Ashe is crazy easy. You can be very effective with support Ashe by literally just Wing when it's off cooldown in lane, staying way back. You don't even need to risk yourself. You can E and give vision globally to your jungler where the other jungler is, and then if you occasionally hit a good arrow, well done, you can play Ashe support really well. Some people have definitely climbed with Ashe support and they've not been able to climb with any other champions because she has that kind of weird power while also being pretty damn easy. But let's see what they do, because I think this is mainly focused on support Ashe nerfs, but has some compensation buffs to AD carry. That's nice. So Q, mana cost of Q is going down and the empowered duration is going up to 6 seconds. That's pretty nice. That's a good DPS increase for Ashe AD carry. That's lovely. The W, which obviously is the thing that you're just getting absolutely annihilated in lane phase, is being halved at rank 1. And basically 10 damage is what has been taken off. So yeah, that's not bad for just reducing her lane phase. And then her arrow, which again is very powerful if she can land it. 20-second nerf at rank 1, but it is equalizing the same at rank 3. And remember, when Ashe in late game with all the support item cooldown, yeah, she's got like a 30 to 40 second ultimate cooldown, and that's pretty good for a good engage arrow ultimate. So I'd say that's pretty good. I obviously know there are a bunch of now support Ashe players, even though I don't love the pick. They do exist, so this isn't getting rid of it, which I'm sure those players are happy about, but it is just toning down it. Because it is a bit oppressive when Ashe support, you're just getting volleyed with Arcane Comet, and it's just like, Jesus, what can we do in this lane? But it's not going away. It's just being like the top like strength of it is just being trimmed off a little bit. So there's that. But also nice that their AD carry is getting some compensation buffs too. Aurelion. So his kit, his new rework, very strong. Very, very, very strong. And in the hands of a safe player that just gets themselves to mid to late game with high amount of stacks of his Stardust or whatever it's called, yeah, Aurelion is mad. Where a lot of people go wrong, and there are some people that are going, oh, I don't see Aurelion strong, when I play him he sucks. You're probably fighting too much in the early game. He is not a fighting early game champion, and if you're trying, that's where you're probably going wrong. He is an insane, think of him as like a Vigar. He is not lane phase. You'll likely be down on farm in most matchups, but with Aurelion Soul E, maybe not always. But yeah, you're not supposed to win lane. So, health growth is going down, armor growth is going down, and then his Q, obviously the fire breath, is also going down, AP ratio, so less late game scaling for the Q. And it is, his performance at lower skill levels is a bit too powerful, so that's mainly why they're doing it, because he's not incredibly hard to play anymore. He's in a healthy spot for high level play. Why? Because people know what to do against him. He is also a little bit more of like a vulnerable Kassadin, if you will. Like, yes, he scales if you let him get late game, oh boy, but he is actually kind of easier to kill than a Kassadin, even though he's ranged. And I think also part and parcel, Kassadin is such an old champion that a lot of the time people forget how strong he is. Aurelion so is the brand new rework that everybody is thinking about. He'll get more jungle attention. More junglers will want to shut him down because they know he's new and they're on in their mind, than a Kassadin who goes under the radar. So, yeah. Azir. So, someone in our community, Ashes, plays a lot of Azir in, like, master rank in NA, and he said that there's a lot of changes coming to Azir that seem to be overall a good thing for scaling Azir. So we'll see how it goes. Because he is one of those problematic champions that Riot themselves even admitted a little while ago, we don't know what to do with him. There was 3 champions, Azir, Ryze, Kalista. I want to say a little while ago. This probably was like 5 years ago. But Riot basically just gave up balancing them. So they nerfed all 3 of them and said, we don't know what to do, we're nerfing them, and we'll think about it in like 6 months time, we may do something about it. Azir has always still been in that really rough spot that if you make him averagely strong, he will take over challenger and pro play because he's a very mechanical based champion, arguably the most mechanical based champion in the game, but those players can play him well, very well. So if you make him averagely strong, they'll take over. But then if you make him weak, he then is useless. That's the problem. And that's kind of where he's been for quite a long time. So Azir is a pretty nifty champion and is exciting to watch. However, the vast majority of players, even in Challenger, don't find appropriate success with him because he's been left in a nerfed state. Here's the rationale behind these changes. First, weaken his early game and give him compensation in the late game. Second, push him away from the early Q poke and awkward soldier spam and raise his overall DPS otherwise. Third, update his base stats to bring back Nash's Tooth as a viable option. Fourth, buff tools that especially help fledgling Azir players, so newer Azir players, more auto-attack damage in case his soldiers aren't in range, and a stronger passive turret that's up more frequently so that Shurima, the legacy itself, can protect him. Ooh. This might make me want to have a little looky at Azir. So yes, a lot less health at level 1. More armor growth though, so better in later. Lot less mana, but more mana growth, so eventually you'll probably be fine. Attack damage growth also better, so for his individual auto attacks, he's not as useless without his soldier. Attack speed is unchanged. Attack ratio is going up, and attack speed growth is going up. So that's where the Nash's Tooth build might come back. Whoa, his passive is big boy. What the hell? Duration of... So Streamer's Legacy is obviously the turret. So it used to last a minute. It's now 30 seconds. The damage of it, whoa, is going up a lot, though. Ooh. Bonus damage to champions. It no longer does bonus damage to champions. Okay, that's why that's happened. By the way, it was a 15% AP ratio. It's now a 40% AP ratio. This tower is going to do damage in late game. Oh my god. Azir's Sun Disc now applies Azir spell effects as a single target spell. So if you build Rylai on Azir, your tower is also now applying Rylai. Or if you're buying Liandry's, you're now applying Liandry's through your tower. Nice. Health of the tower is going up. Ooh, that's weird. So the armor of it used to be 60 plus 1 minute of game. It's now 30 to 90 based on level. Interesting. Magic resist, same kind of thing. Debuff loses 100 armor. Oh, so if Azir's dead or away, the tower loses both armor and magic resist, where before it just lost armor. Cooldown of it is now a 90-second cooldown. So in theory, if you lose your tower, you can have this up like... You can... Every 90 seconds you can do it, and it will last 30 seconds. So, not bad. The Q... Mana cost is going up. But the magic damage of it is also... Well, it's going down by default, but up by scaling. So this will be a buff at 200 ability power and above. So more for late game. The W, so they've gotten rid of bonus attack speed granted when three soldiers. They've gotten rid of that, probably because again they're giving him more base attack speed and everything here. Yeah, wow. And then more a less of a less magic damage through his E because they're putting it elsewhere. I might have to give Azir a go. This sounds quite interesting to me. So yeah, we might give this a go. Azir is a champion that I've always thought would fit my playstyle. He's a control mage. Scaling control mage. That's what I play. So we might have to have a look at that. Caitlyn, base armor decreased and base attack damage decreased. She's been a little bit too oppressive recently. So just kind of trying to trim that down a little bit in the early game. Fizz, not really a champion you see anymore. W, mana restoration increased. E, playful damage adjusted. And mana cost decreased. Why don't you see Fizz? Because it's quite rare for Fizz to have absolute one-shot potential. And I'm going to say it, I'm going to bring it up because I'm still salty that she still has not been nerfed. Why would you play something like Fizz when Diana exists? Diana, I would say, has easily the same damage that Fizz has. Maybe a bit less burst, but she's got more damage. And she can go tank. Why would you play Fizz? Like, there is just no reason to play Fizz when they're both very similar champions. But Diana's a lot, I would even say, easier and a lot more safe. It just doesn't make any sense. So hopefully this buff will be a big one. So mana restored if you last hit with your trident is going up. Very nice. This is 100% of mana cost. So it's like Annie Q. If you last hit with your W active, you get all the mana back. That's very nice. And then the magic damage of his E, the... Playful Trickster, Troll Pole as some people call it, is going up a little bit by default, and mana cost is coming down. So those are nice little changes for Fizz, better mana for lane, and a little bit more damage overall. Gangplank, definitely a champion that has deserved nerfs. I like this champion, as people know, but he's been a little bit too easy in many areas, that he is supposed to be really bad in early game, and he's supposed to scale. But he wins lanes now. Like, a lot of the time, you are seeing Gangplanks win lane. Do you know why? They go back, they get Sheen, and suddenly they can kill you. And then with all the crit changes, he can just murder you pretty early on for a late game champion. And the passive, yeah, the passive has been doing a lot. So the passive is being toned down. Still is going to do a lot of damage when he's getting his crit up there, but it is being toned down by default, and that, remember, is true damage. And then the E, all players will now be able to see the number of kegs Gangplank has available beneath his mana bar. That, by the way, is a big nerf. But 18-second all rank is his keg recharge. Again, obviously is a nerf, but it isn't really nerfing his absolute damage output. We've all been just like walking by and you get hit by a gangplank barrel in late game and get one shot. You're like, what happened? That's not really affecting that at all. So maybe they don't really care about that. But yeah, so I, even as a gangplank fan, would say these nerfs are probably not enough. I do say this is a big one. Being able to see how many barrels he has available is big. Like, if you're playing Riven top lane against a gangplank and you're like, oh, he's got no barrels, you know you can go in. When sometimes not knowing what barrels he has available stops you wanting to go in. So that is quite big. Jinx attack speed growth is going up, and mana cost of Zap is coming down, and the slow is going up. And then the ulti is the damage cap against monsters is equaling what the best smite can be. So remember, Jinx, if she hits Baron with her ulti, it doesn't explode. What this is, let's say a Nunu or any jungler is doing Baron. Jinx hits the Nunu that's doing Baron. The explosion that the missile or rocket does hits the Baron. That's the point. So it can maximum now do 1200 damage, which is the same as a maximum smite. So more likely, Jinx can now get good steals like she used to before. Cannon, Q cooldown decreased, magic damage increased, W range indicator for marked targets added, and E damage to minions increased. Yeah, Cannon struggled for quite a few years, to be honest. So the problem with Cannon, I would say, in Modern League is, well, especially when sustain was too high, he's ultimately obviously a top laner predominantly and would try to poke out his opponent and then go for an all-in. His poke isn't as effective when everything is either tankier than they used to be or can just heal his poke. And then in all-ins, he really doesn't all-in as well as pretty much most meta top laners can. So that has fundamentally been his problem. It's kind of a lose-lose for Kennen. Okay, I can't poke you out because you're just healing it all, or my poke just doesn't do any damage. And, oh, I'm all-inning. Oh, Darius has killed me with a big axe. Cool. So hopefully there's just some nice buffs here. So cooldown of it is going down in the early, which does help for lane phase. And the magic damage is helping, or the magic damage is also going up by base, starting at rank 2. 20 damage buff at rank 5, but also a 10% ability power ratio. That's actually quite a big buff. W has now got a range indicator, which is always nice, and then a bit more minion damage to his E, which is definitely a big help for wave clear. So I don't think it's enough to suddenly make him meta, but for Kennen players, they probably are pretty happy about that. LeBlanc, Q now refunds 100% of mana and 30% of cooldown upon killing a unit. So the exact same like of Annie. If you last hit with Q, you'll just get it back. Obviously doesn't have the same cooldown though. Now deals bonus damage to minions. Well, actually, I'll say that there is a cooldown refund if you do last hit. So you will be able to use it more for last hitting now. And deals bonus damage to minions. So yeah, actually, they are trying to make it a ability like Annie's Q. And then our bonus damage to minions is replicated on RQ cast. So, not bad. Just making it easier to farm on LeBlanc, because she pretty much is the hardest to farm on champion in the game. It's really bad to farm with LeBlanc. Pantheon, a champion that I've always not massively rated, partially again because the game has moved on so much to scaling and Pantheon just doesn't scale well. He scales probably better than he used to because there's obviously Blade the Ruined King that he can build and everything now, but it's still not great. I even laned against a Pantheon the other day as Kassadin and he couldn't do that much and I outscaled him and then wham bam you lost. So yeah, so base health regeneration is going down and attack speed is going up. So the health regen's a nerf to his early game. The Q cooldown is going down in the early and mana cost is going down and the Q wind-up time is going down. So those are just 3 buffs. And then the E, the cooldown of E is going up because, yeah, the E is actually kind of the mainly annoying ability. That's his, like, damage immunity. So they're lessening that power, but trying to put more power into his Q, which obviously is his main poke and damage in lane phase. So, sure thing. Not probably going to help that much. Kiana, Q base damage increased, E cooldown decreased. To be honest, I never really feel that we need to help Kiana, but I do understand that obviously different ratings are a thing. I still see Kiana's occasionally doing very, very, very well, but to me, to me, Kiana's a niche champion that shouldn't be mainstream kind of thing. And when she was at her biggest popularity spike, she was mainstream. You saw them all the time. So I guess if you look at, from where she was at her peak to now, oh yeah, she's definitely weaker, but she's still not bad. That's the thing. So the physical damage of her Q is going up by default, and her E cooldown is going down by 1 second. So they're not crazy buffs, but they're just little buffs. Don't think she needs it, but okay. Ramos. So Ramos is still powerful after everything has shaken out the jungle. We're tapping down some of his damage. Again, that has been fundamentally like the big thing is like these tanks are doing too much damage, which is hilarious to me because tanks all like last year and the year before were useless. And now they're really good, but it's because they're tanky but do too much damage. So the attack damage growth is going down for Ramos, and the magic damage of his Q is also going down by default, starting at rank 2. Rumble, not really a champ you see very much. Magic resist is shred on his harpoons is going up fundamentally quite a lot. So you used to get 10% of the magic resist at rank 1. On one harpoon hitting, and then 20% on the second. This is pretty big. So at rank 1, you're going to shred 12% of the magic resist by just hitting one of your E's, up to 20% at rank 5. And then if you hit 2 harpoons, you can get rid of 40% of their magic resist. If you hit 2 harpoons, then ulti and Q, something is absolutely melting in front of you. That's crazy damage. Samira, passive movement speed is going down because, again, that was a part of, well, going up early. Yeah, so it's a bit stronger early per stack, but then it's getting weaker later. Sure thing. Trinity Neps, not really a champion you see. Again, I'm fine with him not really being seen. Fundamentally, he's very, very basic, especially in my rating bracket. He's only practically played by one tricks. And I kind of like that because he's a very annoying champ. Health growth is going up, so he's going to be tankier. And attack damage growth is going up, so he'll do more damage in late game. Oh boy. Again, it's still not going to make him meta, but it's just annoying when you have to play against a Tryndamere. Twitch, EAP ratio decrease. So it was 35% AP ratio. It's now going to 30%. It's still going to be kind of strong. But this is it. Oh, AP Twitch, you're one of my favorite champions. You're also overpowered. Wow, Riot is just saying it. You're overpowered. You're also incredibly frustrating to play against if you don't have to actually lane, since you can be anywhere at any time. At least Evelyn has to wait until level 6. That's the worst part of it, honestly. Back off Evelyn's niche, you jerk. What the hell? Did this make it to the patch note? But yeah, Riot's basically admitting that AP Twitch sucks. So they're just nerfing it, but for some reason not getting rid of it. But it's still going to be really strong, even with this nerf. It's just hopefully not going to be overpowered anymore. I would personally put AP Twitch into the exact same category as the Ashe support players. There's a lot of players who have been stuck in ranks for years, and then they've started playing Ashe support or started playing AP Twitch, and they've just climbed because they are really weirdly strong picks because they're just odd. Xayah, definitely the strongest AD carry in the game, has been for a little while, so she is getting a tiny nerf on her E, but the cooldown of it is going up. That's the more bigger thing, but still probably going to be quite strong. They're not nerfing too much there. Yorick, bonus damage from ghouls decreased. Don't really see Yorick that much. But yeah, it's the lethality builds. So if you're caught by his E, which obviously gets the ghouls to jump on your face, lethality builds just absolutely murder your face. I do know, and I did read a funny thing, Riot obviously might be changing Prowler's Claw and Duskblade because they have admitted they're not very healthy for the game. And I have already seen like Yorick players actually be quite sad because they're like, dude, how you play Yorick now is lethality. We need Prowler's Claw to get on top of people, and they're already nerfing our E. Oh my god, they want Yorick to die. My argument to that is Yorick shouldn't really be building lethality. He's supposed to be a more Juggernaut Bruiser type, but he's building lethality because it does ridiculous damage. So they're just nerfing the damage by 10%, but that is technically a 25% nerf because it's going from 40% overall to 30%. So there we go. Z, base magic damage decreased. E, cooldown decreased late. So yeah, a little bit less magic resist, a little bit less safe lane phase. And the E cooldown is also, well, that's actually getting buffed. So it's staying at 5, but then from rank 2, it's getting slower. And then by rank 5, it's a 1 second buff for Zed's E. That's pretty good. So there's the champion stuff. Still think Diana is missing from the nerfs. Jungle adjustments. So counter jungling. So we're experimented with junglers having advantages in their own jungle for clearing camps to disincentivize early counter jungling and keep newer junglers from getting dominated from 1 minute on. So what this basically did, because for some reason Riot was like, let's not let the junglers fight each other. Let's just let the junglers camp the living hell out of bot lane. Yeah, that's not great. So what they obviously did back in the day was junglers deal less damage to the camps not in their own jungle. So junglers deal 20%. Oh, sorry. They do more damage to their own camps. So junglers deal 20% increased damage to their own camps and scuttle crabs. That is now becoming all camps. So that 20% that you're doing more to all camps is also the enemies too. So that is definitely going to incentivize one more counter jungling. And not just, I'm going to invade and fight. That's going to be like, I'm a kindred. I'm going to start my blue. And then, oh, I know the enemy's starting their blue. So I'll hop over the wall and steal their red because I can do it quicker now. It's going to incentivize a lot more of that going on. Which obviously, the more you do that is the less actual early ganks you're doing, technically. And then you're also getting more gold for farming. So again, partially why you're getting more gold for farming is because ganking has been too strong. Ganking has been the default playstyle for junglers, that a lot of junglers don't really do any farming because they can just gank and just camp bot lane. A lot of it is bot lane, and that is because jungle is the strongest role in the game. AD carry is the second strongest role in the game. So if the jungler just camps bot lane, you guarantee, well, nearly guarantee, the two strongest roles in the game are both getting strong. And then also, because bot lane is strong and jungle is strong, you guarantee every dragon. So it's kind of why it's been a problem recently. And then jungler lane experience, by the way, they are getting much less experience in the early game for laning. So they used to get 75% of XP total that a laner normally would. They're now at minute 0 only getting 40% of the experience that a normal laner would get if the jungler is in lane, up to the 75% at 14 minutes. So in the whole early game, there is very little point a jungler would take XP or farm away from laners. If you're caring about your team as a whole, you're actively hurting your team if you're taking experience away. Obviously, it's different if you gank for a lane and your team has died. If you need to push that lane in to get the lane to reset under their tower, still do that, obviously, because you don't want to put your lane at a disadvantage, but you are getting less. Like some junglers have had a more default of, I'm just going to lane here or there and just take a bit of lane farm. That's a bad thing to do now. Sweeping Lens is also going up in cooldown. So yeah, very powerful tool for clearing out any enemy vision and forcing enemies to play safe. So it used to be a 90 to 60 second cooldown. It's now 120 seconds to 60. Cosmic Drive, no more health, but is getting a lot more ability power. Whoa, that might be a worthwhile item on quite a few of my champions now. Cool. Plated Steel Caps and auto no matter the code. Steel Caps now looks for all auto attacks for its damage reduction rather than auto attacks tagged with just auto attack and nothing else. Okay. Seraph's Embrace getting a bit of a nerf. That's fair. So this again is technically another nerf, and Nivea had a nerf last patch. It will also be another nerf, but I'm fine with it. It's been too strong. 10 AP ratio, 10 AP down and 50 less health. And Archangel a little bit less there too. Healing from runes has crept up over time due to the durability patch last year and other system buffs like updated tank items from preseason. So Grasp the Undying has been benefiting fighters more than tanks for its power to heal. And this change aims to lower the overall power of the heal component and increase the stacking tank stats. Cool. So again, you'll get the removed. They have just removed the health healing. Maybe, I don't know. It doesn't, well, I don't know. This is weird because again, it used to be 1.7% of your maximum health healing, but this says it's been changed to 1.2. But why then is there removed at the beginning? Because that would indicate the whole healing mechanic is being removed, where I actually think it's just been nerfed. So that maybe there's a bit of a typo there. But then your maximum health, so when you proc Grasp, if you're a melee champion, you get 5 health, or got 5 health per time you proc it. It's now 7. You're a ranged champion that goes Grasp, which I don't really think there's many, and you're now getting 4. Triumph used to be 10% of missing health as your heal. It's now 2.5% of maximum health, plus 5% of missing health. So it's a break-even point around the 35% health mark. Okay. ARAM, the only thing I'll say about ARAM, the tower rubble, or when a tower gets kind of knocked over, that's going away. And they're changing things here or there, but that's good. Clash, I will be playing Clash this year, but unfortunately, the first weekend of Clash, I don't think I'll be available to play. So I will try my best to be available, obviously, for this weekend. Unfortunately, it's a family thing that has been booked for months, so I don't think I can get out of it. I might be back by Sunday night, but I can't promise it. I know you guys enjoy the Clash content. I like playing it myself. But yeah, it's just fallen on a bad weekend. Champion pricing. So yeah, they've updated champion pricing quite a bit. Overall, champions are now going to be, a lot of them, cheaper, which is good. So yeah, that's not bad at all. Behavioral systems. AFKs are a common problem in League games, but our data shows that most players who leave games do so infrequently enough that they don't ever get a penalty. We know that sometimes disconnects happen, but we still want to ensure we provide a reminder that leaving games always hurts your teammates. For more information, blah, blah, blah. We are continuing updating, blah, blah, blah. So, AFK timeout. There will be a 1-minute queue delay penalty for all players that AFK or leave games. And then no more immunity. Fixed a bug where sometimes frequent leavers would not get a penalty. That's good. The one thing that I will say they need to look into a little bit, because I have found it, I'm going to be honest, hilarious. But Teemo players have actually been, you know, they did the adjustment to the early surrender situation, that if it detects an AFK, you can surrender the game and not lose any LP. Teemo players are very, very frequent and common that they'll run to top lane very quickly. They'll go a little bit into the enemy's area and just stealth until lane phase begins, and then they can get a bit of free early damage on the enemy top laner. But because they're standing still for over a minute stealth, the game detects them as AFK, and the early surrender thing happens, and the Teemo player loses all the LP, and the game's just simply remade. I have found that very funny, but I'm sure if you're a Teemo player that's happened, it probably isn't very funny. So I don't know if they've changed that or made it better, but yeah. So the 32-bit Windows OS client's going away, not surprising. Dodge penalties. Ooh, okay. So the first dodge is going up to 5 LP loss, and every other dodge after that is 15. Why are they doing this? I did actually think, technically, I might have even said it in a video, dodging because of the new LP gains and losses, only losing 3 LP wasn't that bad. And by the way, that if you heard anything there, that was me moving my foot on my chair. But let's say the average LP gain and loss was 15 LP and you lose 3 LP, that's a bit considerable. When you're gaining and averagely losing 22, losing 3 LP for a dodge doesn't mean that much. 5 LP is just kind of bringing it back to that same kind of ratio. So that makes sense to me. Bug fixes, there's that. Mythic shop is there, and yeah, we got the new skins. The Cho'Gath one is absolutely mad, by the way. That looks so cool. But a lot of them look really nice. Quite like a demon-y kind of vibe. I don't know if this is like a Dark Souls kind of theme. If you know what theme kind of this is being inspired by, let me know. Because yeah, maybe Dark Souls. But there we go. That is going to be it. Hopefully you guys enjoyed the patch notes. overall, it doesn't seem like a terrible patch. A lot of changes that I would say I overall agree with, but I still would say there are some things that are missing. Diana. Anyway, that is going to be it. If you guys did enjoy, please do let me know what you think down below. But yeah, like, comment, subscribe. I'll see you guys next time. Peace.
Call down the reckoning to bring back hope and peace. Restore our Gloria to live forever. Bring down the dark regime. I know how to unleash eternal